just go ahead and set up here. Perfect. I hope I have good audio this time. Last time we had a bit of a bumpy start. I was so compelled to come on today and just wish all mothers a very happy Mother's Day and mother figures happy Mother's Day as well. Today is a joyous day filled with flowers, celebration, joyful images and moments of motherhood, and it is truly a beautiful and delightful day. I mean, where I am, we have some forecast. It looks like we have a bit of rain, but even in that, it is still um, just pretty, right? And I hope you're all enjoying yours as well. I wanted to also mention, though, this day actually is gonna bring on some tenderness for a lot of people. And the tenderness that comes on could be brought on by grief that is, woken by such days like this. And it really does flood memories, right? Especially the advertising and everywhere you look, the restaurants, everything is geared to the festivity, the celebration. You really cannot, just go away from it, or maybe you can hide under a rock. But everywhere you look now, that is what you see. So it is definitely a bittersweet day for some people, that's for sure. And it could be those who have lost a mother, right? Individuals that may have lost the promise of being a mother. And it could have been that they were at 8 weeks, pregnant and were going to have that baby, or the unfortunate, which is they had a stillborn. So even at that, in that child that was never conceived, there is a lot of parents out there struggling to conceive, to have that motherhood experience as well. And, that ache of becoming a mother does remain, it does remain in their hearts and in their arms, their empty arms. So to all of you that are grieving out there, sending you some comfort and love, and hope you find some warmth today. And yes, for those of you that are listening, if you have anyone undergoing that, hopefully you give them extra hugs today and some extra love, because it's definitely much needed. Today, I also want to touch and create some more space for truth. That doesn't come easily for most people, but it is something that we definitely want to speak upon, which is that motherhood is deeply tied to bringing and bearing children. And yes, motherhood is sacred. It is one of the best achievements that personally I have actually had in my life. But I also understand that not every woman has that same dream, although that is not something that is easily spoken about, depending, of course, on their background, depending on their culture. And so, it is not the only accomplishment that a woman can do, but it's not yet easily navigated either, because in most traditions, in most religions, in most cultures, women have this obligation to fulfill, and their worth is measured by how much children they bring forth, and then to some the sex of the child, whether it's boy, girl, those things are still available. And so there is that questioning of value. I mean, listen, everywhere you look, especially in the Western culture, young girls, right? What are the most things they get to play with? Dolls, household equipment. And so from a young child, right, growing up, all those are what we would call programming. So messages that are being given to those, young girls, like, okay, they want to play with the dolls, they want to be like mommy. And even in that, it's very cute, but it's the type of play that is being encouraged, right? And so when then they grow up and it's like, oh wow, the dream of what they had is actually something that was probably implanted at that age. And when they learn they want something different, it's not something they could easily speak on, right? And so there is then that question of the value, especially when on certain days of the year, say, you know, anything that really does bring on family gatherings, especially Thanksgiving or Mother's Day at that, or Christmas, you know, it's questions about grandkids, questions about when are they getting married, and it's all tied to that ultimate goal of attaining motherhood. And so, if that young lady isn't at all wanting to, right, to be a mother, she'll probably just create a distraction or give them some story, or altogether actually even avoid going to right, to the occasion, when in fact it shouldn't be that way. But that's how it is in society. It's like there is displacement of fulfilling that role and quote unquote purpose, right? So feeling like that is the purpose. Now it is important to know, right? And I mean, it is 2026 now, and we see that there's been so much more accomplishments, whereby for some young ladies, for some mothers, that is it, right? And that's okay. And yet for others, it is actually so much more. And I'm not saying that in each one there's a different worth. What I'm saying is that people have different dreams, and when we live in a society that tells you what you are going to be, it sort of stifles, right, the person's dreams as well. Because especially individuals that are so worried about what others are going to think of them, or they're looking for approval or even for love from certain individuals in their family, they will do certain things just to make others happy, not themselves happy. So I do want to point out that when we talk about the womb space, the womb, okay, in the medical terms, it's called the uterus, right? The womb space in itself, if you look at that space, it actually is designed for more than birthing. And if you're just joining, my name is Angela Chiwanaka Booth. I am a certified hypnobirth instructor, a hypnotherapist, and somatic therapist. And we're on here speaking about Mother's Day and what is beyond mothers, and how can we connect with so much more creativity out there that is within each and every one of us. And so, up until this point, when we talk about the womb space, this is actually something that is for men and women. Yes, you may say a man doesn't have a womb, but energetically, spiritually, that sacral area, right, is for creation. And so for women, it is intended for the same thing. Yes, there is also the bringing forth of a child, okay, that is the most magnificent creations, right? But there is more to it. It is also a center of creativity as we know it. And so when I say creativity as we know it, right, it could be attached to anything in any line of work, or even just the passions of life itself to create. It's where seeds of intuition, seeds of vision also come forth. When you talk about creation itself, it is directly connected to the brow chakra, what we also call the third eye. Okay, when both of those, if one of them is blocked, the other one is blocked as well. And when someone clearly has stagnation in their creativity, okay, guess what happens? They're not going to be as having as much performance or creativity as we'll call it. So it really does not apply to women as well when we talk about the womb space, that sacral area, okay? And it's for all human beings, men and women. We are all creators by nature. We are all creators by nature. Let me just quickly see if there's okay, I thought I saw something in there. So, when we say creation, we are creating art, okay? Poems. We are creating businesses for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, right? We are creating music, ideas, even community in itself. We are creating connections and healing and so much more. So it's not just about right, that creation of the human being. That in itself is a miracle, right? And so one of the things that should be realized is that when the body becomes stagnant in any unresolved trauma, the nervous system is going to just hold on, and it's going to be in fight and flight, right? Survival mode. And when that occurs, okay, which it is unfortunate, but that is a common thing nowadays when individuals are literally everywhere they look, it's like they don't know what tomorrow brings. And right away, even that in itself, the uncertainty of tomorrow just makes them feel like, oh my gosh, right? The sleepless nights. And so that really does stifle creativity. And the body, again, was never meant to create while in survival mode. Because you have to remember when you're in fight and flight, right? There are certain levels within the body where blood flow is regulated to go. Excuse me. There's going to be certain, you know, things that just take on more importance. It's like we have to survive. So repair, digest, rest, all of those things are going to be interfered with, right? That's why when individuals are in fight and flight, they have problems with sleeping, they have problems with digestion. There's a lot of gut issues, okay, inflammation, healing is impaired, immunity is impaired. So you see, when that sympathetic system is so overactive and it doesn't shut down, or it's like overly stimulated, it really does interfere with the creative um, juices within. And again, keeping in mind, as above, so below, right? And so, what I mean to say that is individuals that are constantly in the fight or flight, they're going to be in survival mode. So certain things may happen, but it's always going to be a struggle. And so with that, this is why we do have individuals, again, sticking on this topic, that are struggling with infertility, individuals that are burnt out. So there is poor performance, there is the exhaustion, feeling constantly overwhelmed, and what we would call emotional numbness. It's like they may be doing all of these things under the sun. They're grounding, they are eating right, they may again getting those 9 to even 10 hours of sleep, which to some professionals that may be actually too much. But then the extreme to that, people who can barely get in 5 hours of rest, right, where the maximum maybe is 4. So, depending on how you look at it, it's quite interesting that those dots aren't connected, but it really does make sense, because when the body is feeling like it needs to protect itself, it needs to hold on, other things take priority. And so the nervous system is just going to be communicating. And when it's communicating, it's certain things we don't want to get, like the migraines and the headaches and the IBS, right? Those who may have any irritable bowel syndromes, even the constipation, right? It's like it's holding on. And yes, you can drink as much water as you like to, and the healthy diets. And so when that energy is stagnant, okay, things aren't as smooth as they need to be. And I like to share, actually, I had a client who was struggling with unsuccessful in vitros, and these are fertility treatments, and she had been trying. From the look of things, it just wasn't working out, and it was actually becoming very financially burdenful, emotionally taxing, physically, and mentally. And on that day when I actually saw her, she did admit she hated going to the treatments. She hated, it's like the minute she pulled into the parking lot, she just felt her body just go numb. She hated the smell of the building. She hated just the drive going there. It's just, she just hated the whole experience of going there. And she just kept going and kept going and kept going. It's like, okay, here I am, do what you must, right? And then she'll leave and go on, crying her way home. And, after we met, not only did it help her to actually become so aware of the fact that uh, what was happening really is that she was fighting against herself. She was, um, she just hated everything about it. And it's like, okay, well, how else could we do that? Of course, we had, some techniques here and there, certain discussions. And one of the things that it actually went down to was smell. She had a very strong sense of smell, which, as I told you earlier, just going into the parking lot, she just hated the whole thing. So, among other things, of course, but when she changed and took control of the scent itself, of what she may have wanted to experience, it did not only bring on more relaxation, but of course, with some hypnosis as well. I gave her some recordings to listen to before her treatments and actually during, because some days she had to go to work and it's not as easy to just, get off from this work and hop into the car and go to the next thing. Mentally, again, things have to be switched off. So, in the session, we talked about all of this and even going to the point of, right, it's not just about overcoming the whole treatment is you have the power to create your future. Taking her far enough into the future to say, this is actually a successful treatment, right? You're holding your baby. I mean, that in itself, that smile, I remember that smile on her face, you know, that in itself was just like, oh my gosh, like I could just see her breathe. And, of course, that was something that I keep saying her. Of course, there was a spouse involved, but it was clearly when it comes to even these treatments, there is a lot of outcome and expectation on the woman, right? And so the men are going to be present, but when certain weaknesses, as we would like to call them, are being experienced, fears, grief, shame, or even disappointment, that is not something easily spoken, right, to the partner. And so it was actually wonderful for her to have someone else to confide into as well. And, after those sessions, something indeed did shift for her. Okay. She actually went for a couple more treatments. I remember the decision was to change the physician. Maybe they, as a couple, they thought they'll be with better results at a different location. And ultimately, the decision came to just pause and stop everything, right? And lo and behold, right, a few months later, with that, she actually called me, right? And it was like, hey, guess what? Right? The good news was that she was expecting, and, as I speak to you now, actually, she's holding her beautiful 2 month old. And it's like, wow, what a journey, And all that to say, even for some mothers out there who it's a battle, it's a real, real battle just to be a mother. And then again, there are those who are stricken by grief because they may go through the battle, and it's like, as a result, at the very end of that, they may feel like, oh my gosh, I went through all of that and still I'm not, right? So, again, to anyone experiencing that grief, please know you're not alone and do not give up. And when I say do not give up, do consider seeking other therapies, and do voice your fears. You right, talk about it. Okay. Again, if you're just joining, my name is Angela Chiwonikabu. I am a certified hypnobirth instructor, a hypnotherapist, and somatic therapist. And today we're talking about motherhood and beyond. And so, for that young lady, after those sessions, of course, her life shifted to the better. And this is for a few more families like that, right? And so, of course, I'm not saying, healing guarantees pregnancies, but what I'm saying is that sometimes healing may mean the realization of your own dreams, the realization that, you know what do I want? Because when, especially if we are in partnerships, we tend to do dreams in unison as a couple this, as a couple that, and then we put our dreams on the back burner. So if there are dreams on that individual level that are not, I would say, in harmony with the partnership, that in itself is gonna cause some resentment. And what ends up happening is that that is just gonna live on, right? And so for the duration of the relationship, things could morph into something else, or they just keep growing at that. So of course, be honest with yourselves. What do you really want? And that is more so for individuals that are in relationships, and better for those who are not in relationships but are looking for them, right? Because that partner that you will love to have in your life, do you know what they want versus what you want? Are you on the same wavelength? And so, the body does create differently when it feels safe. And when it feels safe, it's not in the mind, it's in the body, because it's something you feel, it's not something you think. You cannot think yourself into, I am okay, I'm safe. You can talk yourself into it, but feeling it is another. And that's really why I love the modalities that I use to work with my clients, right? The combination of the hypnosis and the somatic work, because one addresses the mental, emotional, while the other goes into the physical aspects of somatic release. Because really, by natural design, when someone is stuck in, say, chronic stress, or even traumas, they really cannot fully pause to receive any inspiration, those downloads. Instead, they get headaches. Okay. And so they are not able to receive their creativity. This is why when children have so much homework, they are so burdened with schoolwork, they may just get out of the way, but the minute it stops being fun, when learning stops being fun, they themselves come about as a little bit more grumpy, a little bit more moody. And we actually do see that a lot, especially around the adolescence or teenage, right? Where it's like it's a stark reality of sort of what adulthood is going to look like. And so, with the world's greatest poets and visionaries, and all those people who understood this, they knew how important play was. And this is why play is so important. That inner child never goes away. That inner child never goes away. And when you speak of great artists like Maya Angelou, great artists like that, who with poetry there was so much reflection and notes of stillness. Such an individual, right? They allowed inspiration to arise. Clearly, they had other things to work through, but what I'm pointing out is that you're going to see in most of the researchers that we've come to learn nowadays, majority of them are applying visualization, guided visualization. They are using meditative states to access creativity. And a lot of even studying programs, they create programs for individuals to listen to as they're going to sleep. Why is that? That is because right around um, falling asleep, okay, That is in hypnosis what we call the theta state. That is a very suggestive state. And if you're working with professional hypnotherapist, that is what we'll also call the somnambulist state, whereby someone is able to get suggestions. And so those academic programs use that because they know that the conscious mind is slowing down, and the subconscious mind is more accessible to receive all that information. Okay, and even these programs that do languages, I believe that is some techniques that they actually use. So, you know, so to say, brilliance in itself, to be creative, is amplified with presence, with stillness. And so this is where the moments where the mind is very soft and in receiving mode. Okay, and that can only happen in stillness. Okay, because when you're in fight and flight, your mind is all over the place. You're thinking about the stock market, you're thinking about the bills, you're thinking about everything else in the world, right, that is happening or that may happen. Okay, that calls you to always wanting to be in the know of things. What else is going on? What else is going on? Well, what might happen? But what if that happens, right? And so in that, right, your mind really doesn't get to rest unless you're sleeping. And even at that, your dreams are also somewhat of a nightmare, right? So how do you find some stillness? So it's really important to understand that creativity is so important, but it can only be amplified with regulated nervous system. So, with everything so far that I said up until this point, Mother's Day is a wonderful day. Mother's Day is a day of celebration, and we are celebrating so much more than what the society tells us to celebrate. So, today, whomever receives this message, I hope you are celebrating yourself. And this goes for anyone who is not even a mother or not yet a mother or does not want to be a mother, but you are bringing on so much more into this world. And it is such a greater place because you exist with all that you are creating. And so I hope you find yourself in comfort and pampering. And it's not about others doing it for you, it's you doing it for yourself and with bliss and joy. And every day should really be at that celebrated. And so, this is definitely a reminder as well to dance, to paint, to, just play, be silly. Life can get so serious where it's like people forget how to even let loose, be silly, dance a little, laugh at your own jokes. And even at that, go get some crayons and a coloring book, okay? And I'm telling you, it is one of the fun things that I don't shy away from. Even when I go to restaurants and it's like laid out for the little ones, I will actually always ask for an extra because I want to take part. I mean, right? Where's the fun in that? Just watching them. I want to be a part of it. So I'm one of those parents that doesn't shy away from, if I'm considered silly, oh well, I will certainly join them. And with that, if you find yourself tearful with whatever else is going on for you, I hope that you also have the space. You find the space to do that. Tears are very good release. It really helps the nervous system to reset. So don't ever feel shy if you need to cry. Sometimes, yes, you may need to cry in private space. That's all right. But whenever the tears do come on, they are one of the best releases for the nervous system to regulate itself. And again, if you have any loved ones that may have passed away, they do live on in our hearts. Personally, today I actually to be in those moments where I am also experiencing bouts of grief and then celebration. So I am with you, whomever you are as well, in that experience. And I just want to remind you that life carries so much more miracles and so much more love and creation. So, this was a very quick live, and thank you for those of you that were able to join. I know it was unannounced, but that's just how it happened. I just felt to come on and wishing you all a happy Mother's Day that are celebrating and take good care of yourself. Until next time, thank you.